when they took you from Africa and they banned you from being called Kunta Kinte, Rasul or Muhammad.
That's right.
When they took us on that westerly course, then they forced us into their names.
Teach.
And they called us Smith, Jones, Robinson, Green, Brown, Hogg. A black man called Mr. White. And when we go to China,
Listen.
and we put our passport down, and the Chinese immigration control official looks at that passport and he sees Mr. White, he expects to see a white man. And when he sees the black man, he says, uh-oh, this man doesn't know who he is.
I shall try.
But many of us as black people today, we're very foolish people.
We all know that a lot of black people got their last names from their enslavers. But what I didn't know was a lot of the common names, Carter, Smith, Taylor, those all came from black people's ancestors' occupations. So in case you didn't know, a carter was a person who transported goods using a cart. A cooper is someone who made or repaired barrels. Smith is in relation to a blacksmith, someone who worked with metal. Tailor refers to a tailor, someone who sews and makes clothing. It's just spelled differently. And then you have names like Freeman, Strong, Young, Brown, Black. These represent exactly what it sounds like. Freeman obviously was the person who got their freedom during slavery, and that was just the last name given to black people during that time so that it could be known that they were free, and that was their free identity. They no longer had a slave identity. And then you have those that took on names that represented their surroundings and geographic locations, such as rivers, banks, woods, hills. Those were names that indicated proximity to nature. Strong is just like it sounds, most likely identifying a person of that stature who portrayed inner strength as well as physical strength. Young, Brown, and Black were names that were given to people to describe their outward appearance. If they looked young, if they were brown, if they were black, those were the names that stuck and were passed down in the family line. And the fourth way was through false documentation, such as the Freedmen's Bureau census and things like that, which forced black people to change their last names because they were either spelled wrong, misdocumented, anglicized, etc. And others after emancipation rejected their last names and chose their own last names. However, they chose names such as Washington, Lincoln, after predominant figures of their time, which was ironic because, obviously some of them owned slaves, but they still felt some type of prestige to the name and wanted to take after them, rejecting their enslavers.
Hello and what's up, good people? What's up, brothers and sisters? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're doing great from wherever you're watching this video from today. Now, in this particular powerful video, I want us to ask ourselves something about our identity and what is our identity and what does it take to reclaim our identity as Black people and as Africans, because we know that we also have an identity crisis in one way or another. And I just want us to, today we can ignore the big stuff and pay attention to the most overlooked small stuff that really are very vital when it comes to identity. And when we speak about our identity, many people think it starts with culture, religion, or even politics. But at the very core of who we are as a people, our identity is carried in our names, the names we give ourselves, the name we give to our lands, our places, and the names we choose to honor as Black people, as Africans. One of the most powerful weapons that the imperialists or the colonizers used against Africans and Black people across the world was the erasure of names, African or Black names. Think about it. When they enslaved Africans, the first act of domination was to strip people of their names and give them new ones. Those European names were not given to honor us; they were given to erase us or erase who we are and whitewash history. our ancestors who carried names tied to their lineages, their tribes, their gods, their histories, were suddenly forced to answer to foreign sounds that carried simply no meaning to them. Let's check this out.
When they took you from Africa and they banned you from being called Kunta Kinte, Rasul or Muhammad.
That's right.
When they took us on that westerly course, then they forced us into their names.
Teach.
And they called us Smith, Jones, Robinson, Green, Brown, Hogg. A black man called Mr. White. And when we go to China,
Listen.
and we put our passport down, and the Chinese immigration control official looks at that passport and he sees Mr. White, he expects to see a white man. And when he sees the black man, he says, uh-oh, this man doesn't know who he is.
Actual fact.
But many of us as black people today, we're very foolish people.
Right.
Because we don't understand why another man gives you his name. Because when he gives you his name, the giving of another's name denotes possession. It means he owns you. As long as you're walking in another man's name, he knows he owns you. You can talk as strong as you like. Yeah, I'm for black, yeah, Mrs. White. Yeah, they're laughing at you. Because they know that when you take another's name, that's why in marriage, in the tradition of marriage, the woman takes the man's surname.
Go ahead.
And leaves her maiden name, because that taking of the other's name denotes possession. In the event of divorce, you don't walk around with the other man's name. You now relinquish that name because you're no longer with that one. What brings about insecurity is when you have a false concept of yourself. And the false concept of self is white supremacy. They believe that they are better because they are white. And as a result, see, when a man has that kind of silly mentality, Hitler had the silly mentality that the white man, the Aryan, is superior. So then at the Olympics, Jesse Owens kicks up all the Aryans. Hitler is outraged. He's angry. The white man pushing white supremacy. That's why they would cut off our penis when they would lynch us. Penis envy. They're afraid of the black man because of our potency, because of our manliness. Because when you look at the black man, he's a real man. He's strong. So then they would have us as mandingos, fighting one another. That's why even today, they want to be the heavyweight champion of the world. They can't find a white man to do it. So they tried to turn a black man, Frank Bruno, into a white man. They called him the Great White Hope. They're desperate. We're not allowed to play golf. Why are we not allowed to play golf? Because we are inferior. We can't play the game. But let one black man into golf. Then all of a sudden there's a tiger in the woods. And he doesn't just play golf, he becomes the master. We're not allowed to play tennis. Let black people into tennis. We go straight to Wimbledon and win it in 1935. A black woman. Now, Venus and Serena, they run out of opponents. They have to play each other. The white people cannot compete on an even playing field. They let us into athletics. You can't run like us. You let us into any field of endeavor, we dominate it. So they feel, and they become very afraid of anything that goes contrary. And so every time a black man stands up for black people, Martin Luther King, shot down. Malcolm X, shot down. Patrice Lumumba, shot down. Steve Biko, shot down. Everyone, Nelson Mandela, they locked him up for 27 years. We can count back 400 years of the most brutal treatment. Look, they took my name, my language, my culture. They killed my mother, my father, denied me religion, disallowed me to read or write for over 3 300 years. Reduced me to the level of an animal where they branded me on my chest, branded me on my buttocks with a branding iron. And they called me 3/5 of a human being in the American Constitution. Is that the act of a human being or the act of a devil? It's for you, you answer it. We're just calling white people names. No! We're just going on the basis of what we have experienced. Black people were taught to hate ourselves.
That's right.
Even to this day, many of my people suffer from self-hatred.
Teach Muhammad.
And you will see us trying to change our skin color.
Teach Muhammad.
When I was born in the 50s, in Jamaica, they would take, you know, like my nose, the mothers would sometimes take the nose and try to squash it, to hate self, that they felt that the baby was ugly if it had thick lips and broad nose and black skin. And so this is in order to counterbalance that degree of self-hatred, there had to be a teaching given by Elijah to black people that would allow us to fall in love once again with ourselves. See, because look, I know you're a wise man, and so you must understand that I'm a baby in wisdom, but I'm not a fool. And he's saying here today that the Caucasian is in fact the oldest group on the planet. I beg to differ. Look, one of the most famous anthropologists is Professor Leakey. And when Professor Leakey went in search of the origin of human beings and human species, he didn't stop very long in Europe. He went to Africa. And the oldest bones and the oldest human beings to this day that you call Zinjanthropus, using the Latin meaning Zin and Xanthropus, meaning a black man, that oldest man, they say, is millions of years old. You went back and found one even older than that. You called her Lucy, a black woman.
Go ahead.
And every sensible historian, anthropologist today agrees that the black man is the father of human beings. Even your geneticist, Mr. Mendel.
Go ahead.
You have Mendel's law.
Go ahead.
Mendel says that light eyes are recessive. Light skin is recessive. You can take the recessive, the dark skin is dominant, the dark eyes are dominant. You can take the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. This is Mendel's law. And so all of your scientists have proved that you can't look. Black is not even a color.
That's right.
Black is the mother and father of all colors. And if you want a baby, even if the woman is a white woman, the baby has to come out of the triple darkness of her womb. And this is the origin of all life. Within the black, you have the whole color spectrum. But in white, two white people laying down together, they can only produce white. But two black people in darkest Africa can lay down together and produce albino with blonde hair and blue eyes.
That's right. Teach Muhammad.
This happens all the time. And so we need to really get these facts correct today and understand that as gray as your hair is, you are listening to your father today.
Teach Muhammad.
This is daddy talking.
Teach.
And we mustn't turn. No, this is true. I'm not mocking. The white man, he came into what he called a new world.
Teach Muhammad.
And so all of a sudden you started to name things.
Teach Muhammad.
So that's why you called it America, based on, what was his name? Amerigo Vespucci, a Caucasian.
Africa.
That's why you called it Africa, based on the European explorer called Africanus. You went into America, you called it New York.
That's right.
Because it was new to you.
New England.
You call it New England.
Right.
You call it New Zealand. You call it Newfoundland. Because it was new to you. But to us, we were already there. That's why we're called aboriginals.
From
Ab, meaning abstracted from the Father.
Muhammad.
From God himself. Original, meaning the first. But you won't find Caucasian people calling themselves aboriginal anywhere on the planet. Because you're the new man, Paul Newman. From one blood came all human beings, but we produced you from us. Look at this. Even the word human, you've heard the term of a darker hue. Human meaning a dark man, human, a man of color. That's why the topsoil of the earth is called humus. It is the dark organic material that gives life to the earth. Whenever you take away the dark organic material or you denature it, you're left with white granulated sand. Desert. You want to see those of us who think that white something to glorify in. No. It's a psychological thing with white people where you want to find your place. And your scientists and your historians, they spend so much time asking the question, where do we come from? Because they are puzzled as to your origin. Look at the Chinese, look at the Asians, look at the black people. All of us got dark eyes. All of us got black hair. The only one on the planet who's got ginger hair, blonde hair, brown hair, gray hair, brunette. You are the one that's gone around the world making everything based on color. You were the one who went into Australia. You were the one who went into South Africa. You were the one who went into Asia and classified people and things based on color. So that's why this man, Yakub, he wasn't a madman. He wasn't a mad scientist. He was a good scientist. And the Caucasian person is a person who is anti-nature. That's why when the sun comes out, I'm energized. Me and the sun, we got a relationship. I love the sun. I don't need no sunscreen. I don't get cancer from the sun. Me and the sun have got a good relationship. I love it and it loves me. But white people, you got to put sunblock on. You got to hide from the sun, because now you might get a little melanoma, part of me on you.
Our African names are not just names. They are stories, prayers, philosophies, and reflections of who we are and what we believe. Every African name carries meaning, deep meaning, often rooted in our ancestors, our culture, our values, our unique way of seeing the world. When we abandon these names for foreign ones, names with no connection to our roots or identity, we are not just changing how we are called, we are slowly letting go of a part of ourselves. We are trading something sacred for something that often has no real meaning to us. Some say it's just a name, or that it's easier to fit in when you bear some of these Western names, like Sharon, Sandra, and all that. But we must ask ourselves, at what cost? Because when you lose your name, you start to lose your story. When you lose your story, you begin to lose yourself. You may look free on the outside, but if your mind still believes that your name isn't good enough, that your African names aren't good enough, then you're not truly free. That's not freedom. It's called quiet bondage. Let us be proud of who we are. Let's wear our African names with pride. Let the world learn to pronounce them, because our names are not a burden. They are a badge of honor, a symbol of our heritage, and a declaration that we know where we come from. Olusegun, Nkrumah, Seseseko, Malema, Obinna, Chidimma, Chidera. These are beautiful African names that we should bear with pride. Like I was saying before, what does George mean to you as an African? What does Peter mean to you? What does Sharon mean to you? What does Leslie, Jaden, Josiah? What do these names mean to you as an African? It's time to start to think about our past, to start to think some of these chains from the colonial past.
Now, the same violence of whitewashing history and erasing who we are, erasing our identity, was repeated on the African continent. Entire nations were renamed. We have Zambia was once called Rhodesia, after Cecil Rhodes, a colonizer who stole African land and African resources. Ghana was once called the Gold Coast, not because Ghanaians called it that way or liked it so, but because all the imperialists saw in Ghana was the gold. Kinshasa, the capital city of the Democratic Republic of Congo, was once called Leopoldville to honor King Leopold of Belgium, a man responsible for unaliving 10 million Congolese people. Imagine that, our lands named after the very men who brutalized them. Just think about that for a minute. So even natural landmarks were not spared. You get to ask yourself the names of landmarks and natural physical features in Africa or around us, Black people. In my country, Kenya, for example, we have Mount Kenya. It was initially called or known as Kirinyaga to the local people to mean the mountain of brightness because of this snow, the cap of snow on top of that mountain. But it was anglicized, or it was modernized, quote unquote, for easier pronunciation. All of this was deliberate to cut ties as Africans from spiritual, cultural, and historical powers are contained in these particular names. Where do we get the name Africa and therefore Africans? Did we even call ourselves the name of the countries that are here today? Burkina Faso was once had an imperialist name. It was called the Upper Volta. But when Thomas Sankara, the famous son of the soil Pan-Africanist, took over, he changed the name to Burkina Faso to reflect the people in that on that land and what they believed and who of themselves and who they really are. And it didn't just stop in Africa. Across the Americas and the Caribbeans, enslaved Africans were forced to take on European names. That's why today we have so many Black people carrying names like Johnson, Smith, White, Williams, Brown, names inherited from slave owners, not our ancestors, not the ancestors of Black people. For example, Malcolm X once called this the slave name, rejecting his given name, Malcolm Little, because it was a constant reminder of the erasure of his African roots or his African story. I think we need to learn something from these legends. Now, why does this matter today? Because names are not just labels. They are memories, they are heritage, they are resistance. Every African name has a story. In Yoruba, the names like Ayodele means joy has come home. In Kikuyu, in Kenya, Yoruba is in Nigeria. In Kenya, a tribe known as the Gikuyu, Wanjiku, famous name, carries history tied to clans and origins. In Zulu, South Africa, Simfo means a gift. These are not just names, they are living archives of who we are as a people. Reclaiming identity means reclaiming these names, simply. It means choosing to call places by African names instead of colonial substitutes or colonial names. It means proudly giving our children African names that tie them to their people. It means for those in the diaspora, digging deep into heritage and re-Africanizing your identities. Those in the diaspora in America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, we need to dig into our heritages and re-Africanize our identities. Isn't just about pride, if you look at it. It is about survival as well. When our people lose their names, they lose their memory. And when they lose their memory, they lose their direction. And when they lose their direction, they can be controlled. They can be manipulated. They become manipulated. That's why colonizers renamed us in the first place, because they knew that erasing identity means or meant for them easier domination. But today, Africans and Black people across the world are awakening to these truths. We see movements to restore indigenous names of towns, cities, and landmarks. We see individuals rejecting slave names and adopting African names. We see Pan-Africanists urging us to take seriously the power of language, the power of culture, and names in shaping how we see ourselves, what we believe in. Because in truth, reclaiming our names is reclaiming our dignity, not just identity, but our Black identity and dignity. Reclaiming our names is reclaiming our history. Reclaiming our names is reclaiming our future. So the question we must all ask ourselves, and we have to answer, is what is in a name? For Black people, everything is in it. It is the link between our stolen past, our struggling present, and our liberated future. So we need to ask ourselves these questions and serve ourselves some very, very important answers. And the answers, Africanizing or rerouting ourselves back to who we really claim to be in our identities. Identity is a very serious topic. We need to really hold this with, all the seriousness it deserves. I mean, it's not always about culture or always about politics, always about the economy. Simply, these are the smallest things. They're not small, but we tend to overlook because of other much more pressing issues that actually, until we get them right in the first place, then even the bigger stuff we are worrying about, we won't be able to manage. So I give you a challenge. Go back into history. Dig into your heritage. Know who you are. Know how you became to become the person you are in your identity, in your names, in what you believe in. What does your name say about you? Why did people like Malcolm X change their names? Why are many Pan-Africanists never using their so-called Christianized or Christian or modern civilized names? Our identity really matters, and it has to start from the very, very basics, like our names. Yeah. I don't know what you think about this, what we've talked about in this particular video. I believe you have something to share with me on the same. Do share with me if you agree. Maybe if you also disagree, I'd love to see what you think about the same. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. If you have loved the video, please give it a thumbs up and share the video as well. And if you're new to the channel, we always say you're welcome home. Please hit that subscribe button to be a part of us. Check out our other videos to know what we do in this channel. So we've come to the end of this video, and I hope we have learned something. Thank you for your precious time, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.